I'm Tracy Osborne, and you're listening to the Daring Woman podcast. Imagine the story of a generation being altered by women who were empowered to live their truth and in turn can empower others to live theirs. It's time to rewrite the narrative. When I was younger, I had my first kid at 19, and my parents always wondered how I ended up making it through high school without becoming a teenage mom. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Great faith in me. But it's tough, and that's just how that's how the times are. We, as teenagers, we start experimenting with sex and stuff at a way too early age, and teenage pregnancies happen. And my guest is no different today. Dr. Cortney Baker is joining us today, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about how she went from being a single teenage mom. For some reason, I won't keep wanting to jumble single and teenage today, but as a single teenage mom on Medicaid and food stamps to being the founder of a very large company. So, Cortney, welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's exciting to have you here. And I definitely want to hear more about your company because it really resonates with me, and I know it's going to resonate with a bunch of our listeners too. So really excited to hear that. But let's start with your journey and, talk to us about what it was like to be a single teenage mom.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, let's just TMI right now, but it was actually the first time I ever had sex in my entire life, and I got pregnant, and I was 18. And I had my son when I was 19, 6 months after I graduated high school. Yep. And, I got pregnant. He ran the opposite direction and actually married his ex-girlfriend 4 months later. And so it was me on my own. And, I was on Medicaid and food stamps, and, it was a hard journey, but, when I had my son, I had already dealt with so much loss because I'd lost my sister at 16. And so I knew that I didn't have an option. I was going to be a mom. So,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know how long ago that was, but I know back in my day when I was on food stamps and stuff, it wasn't like they have now where they have the EBT cards. And so nobody really realizes that you're on food stamps. We had the, funky colored Monopoly dollars. Yes. That you had to use in the grocery stores, and everybody knew that you were on food stamps because you're ripping these things out of your little food stamp books.
Your little coupon book. Yep.
Yeah. And there's a stigma attached to that. When people see somebody on food stamps or using food stamps, there is such a huge stigma no matter what age you are. Did you face any of that?
I didn't. The hardest part for me, and it was in 1993, was when I graduated high school and had my son. And the hardest part for me was all my friends were leaving to go away to college, and I was waiting tables, double shifts at a local restaurant called Black Eyed Pea. Yep. And just what seemed to me at the time the death of what could have been, but not realizing that God had such a bigger plan for me. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so I had mine in 92. So we're talking about the same time frame.
Same time.
Yeah. So we've been parents since we were kids.
Yes.
So like me, you grew up basically with your son, right?
I always say that my son and I grew up together.
Yeah.
And I when he went away to college, I went back to college and to get my doctorate this time. But yeah, I took him to college with me, and when he was like 5, and he would go to class with me before he started kindergarten. And, that's just what it was, because I wasn't going to let that story stop me from my dreams.
Mm-hmm. Now, how were you able to transition off of the system? Because I know from personal experience, once you get on that system, they give you enough help to keep you on the system, but not enough to get off of it. And those of us who are busting our butts to try and get off the system and, make enough money and all of that actually get penalized. So, how were you able to transition out of the welfare system, basically?
It was interesting because I got married when my son was a year and a half. My first husband and I met when Landon, my son, was 6 months old, and we got married a year later. And I moved to Illinois, which was where his family was from. And that marriage lasted about 3 years. And I started going to junior college. And they had, in Illinois at the time, they had a good program for daycare assistance. And so I was able to put my son in daycare while I was able to go to school. And that was really how I did it, because I'm from Dallas. So there was no kind of support system in a big city like that for welfare or, government assistance. So it was really moving out of state, and then at the time going back to school that helped me transition out. And then after I graduated with my master's degree in speech pathology, and at the time I didn't realize you could work with a bachelor's, and it's good that I didn't, because that kept me in school. As soon as I transitioned out of my master's program, and my husband at the time and I had divorced, I realized that I wanted to move back home, and that's what I did, and back to Dallas. And so I worked for about a year in the school district, and really, made no money, absolutely hated my life, because it was just, I felt like it wasn't what I was called to do. And then I started doing home health for children, and realized that was my passion. And then working for somebody else for 4 months and being actually, treated as an undervalued employee, I decided that I could do it myself. And so I was 27, 28 years old, had a 10-year-old son, and then had just gotten remarried, and decided that I was going to start my own company. And at the time I was 4 months pregnant. And it was right after September 11th. It was in 2003. All the odds were stacked against me, but I decided I was going to start my own company, and come hell or high water, it was going to work. And thank God it did.
Yeah, for real. So your company operates in 10 cities all over Texas and Colorado with 400 employees, and you serve over 30,000 children with special needs?
Well, actually now we have over 500 something employees, and we're in 12 cities. So, we're in 3 states. We're in Texas, Colorado, and Idaho. Yeah, okay. It's crazy. It's crazy. And over the past 16 years, we've served over probably 40,000 children with special needs.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And I know that journey is not easy. And I'm sure, especially in the early days, I say it all the time with being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I started my company with $15,000, and it was actually $10,000 had come from my dad, and I had a partner in the beginning, and she and I both pitched in $2,500, which was all we could scrape together. I think it was actually my tax return money, and it was blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, tears again. There were times I wanted to give up, and my husband, thank God, supported me as my cheerleader, and just said, you know what, Cortney, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Now get your ass out of bed, because you got a job to do and people are counting on you.
I like it. I like him.
I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know the feeling. I know that there's been times where I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? You know,
Mhm.
why did I give up a six-figure business to go out and start this new business that hasn't made any money? And, you know, and I'm like, oh, I should just toss in the towel and go back to what I was doing. But then, you know, the pity party ends and you're like, okay, well, you know, now that I'm done feeling sorry for myself, let's get back to business.
Yeah, yeah. And pity parties, all parties must come to an end, and pity parties have an expiration date of 3 days. So once your 3 days is up, pack up your party, put your confetti away, and put your big girl panties on, and let's deal with it.
Absolutely. And now you actually back in what 2012 had another challenge happen.
I did, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I just in August of 2012, I started my doctoral program. And a month into my coursework, I had a stroke in two places and had a 7-hour brain surgery. So I took that semester off, that fall semester of 2012 off to rest and heal and
You think?
get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then restarted in January of 2013 and finished my doctorate in 2015. And actually the research that I found was focused on women in leadership and why there are fewer women in leadership than men and what obstacles and challenges we face when growing our careers. And so that has taken on a whole nother trajectory. And it's been fantastic. I love it. And I'm actually, based on that research, mentoring and coaching female millennial entrepreneurs to start and scale their own service-based businesses.
Wow, that is awesome. That yeah. So, you know, I'm so grateful that you came through the stroke okay.
Thank
Um,
you.
you know, there's no delicate way to put it. You know, did you suffer any side effects or whatever you want to call it?
Sure.
I mean, I know that my stepmom had a stroke in 2012 as well,
Yeah.
and you know, she now has been in an electric wheelchair ever since. She can't walk. She probably never will, even though she's not giving up hope. So you know, hopefully she'll beat the odds and start walking again. But you know, how did the stroke really affect everything that you were doing?
You know, it's interesting because I did not qualify for physical therapy or occupational therapy, but I did qualify for speech therapy, and I'm a speech therapist. So I pretty much said, I can do this. And right before the stroke happened, I had a seizure. And in Texas, for 6 months after you have a seizure, you're not allowed to drive. So I knew that I would be dependent on other people to get to rehab, outpatient rehab.
Sure.
So I actually did a program called Lumosity online, which is brain training, because
Perfect.
my concomitant behaviors were, I have word finding and memory loss. And so sometimes I can't remember the words, or I
Mm-hmm.
have short-term memory things, but it's not anything that has impaired me to the point where it's devastated my life. So
Sure.
it's a total blessing, that it's not, because I know I could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow. And so, you know, if you had to say, you know, what was the one thing that has really kind of helped you throughout the years to not give up, to keep going and to persevere? What do you think that would be? I'm putting you on the spot.
yeah, no, and that's great. I love it. I think the biggest thing is surrounding myself with a support system, and no one has been more supportive of my journey than my dad and my husband. Those have been the two biggest support systems. I mean, growing up as little girls, we're so influenced by our parents, obviously. And my dad, thankfully, always told me I could do anything I wanted. And I believed him. And then, having my husband's support has been incredible. And so it's really having cheerleaders in your corner that will also speak the truth with love, and keep me grounded and focused, but also supported.
That's pretty much exactly the answer I was expecting.
Well, good.
Because that is, I think, the most crucial thing that we need on our journeys, no matter what we're going through, is that support system.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, the journey to being an empowered woman is not an easy one by any stretch of the imagination.
No. And it's, I actually host my own podcast called Women in Business. And I'm doing a series right now called basically how to run a business successfully. And one of the things that I talk about is put your running shoes on and get yourself some running buddies, because you need people who are going to go through this challenge that understand what you're going through and can support you, and that won't just tell you to throw in the towel, or but we'll also be honest with you about your journey and say, maybe let's refocus because you're chasing too many shiny objects.
Oh, that's my story. That's my story.
That's what I have helped the female millennial entrepreneurs that I'm working with, kind of like, let's refocus, let's get back on track, because we all have shiny object syndrome as entrepreneurs, I think. And it's really being able to see that in others and say, okay, let's put your head down and really focus. And, I've helped them start their own businesses in less than 3 months. It's been phenomenal. It's so much fun.
It is. That's awesome. I mean, it is. I think it is so rewarding to be an entrepreneur.
Agreed.
But it's definitely not an easy journey, and not for the faint of heart.
No, it's the roller coaster. I mean,
my God. Yeah. You think the life roller coaster is bad. Wait till you get on the entrepreneur roller coaster.
Exactly. It's the highest highs and the lowest lows.
And a lot of loop-de-loops in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this has been fun getting to know you and hearing your story and just knowing that it is possible that you can do it. You can go from, being a single mom or a teenage mom or, a mom on welfare, whatever, a woman down to a woman who is risen and is confident and, has taken control of her life again. And that's what I love about this podcast, because I get to talk to so many of these amazing women like you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, to go from single teenage mom to Texas Businesswoman of the Year, it's been quite the journey.
Yeah.
Quite the roller coaster.
Quite the roller coaster. And I'm sure you're not done.
No, I'm just getting started. Just getting warmed up.
There you go. Just hanging on for the ride.
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And ladies, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will talk to you next week on our show.
Thank you.